Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's episode of Atrium Customer Office Hours. I'm so excited to have all of you here. So my name is Margie Hochberger, and I'm a Customer Success Associate here at Atrium. And today we will be discussing insights at internal meetings. So I'd like to give you folks just a few minutes to join. So while everybody's trickling in, why don't you go ahead and let us know in the chat who you are and where you're dialing in from, and some insights that you're most excited to learn about today. Yes, I myself am actually calling in from Los Angeles, California. I'm in Marina Del Rey. Oh, nice. Hi, Sarah from Toronto. Ooh, Florida. Love it. Joe from New Zealand. Yeah, Joe, I think I saw you in the Ramping Better, Faster, Stronger office hours. So glad you're back for more. So yeah, just to repeat myself, and for those of you who've just joined, I just want to say again, welcome to today's episode of Atrium Customer Office Hours. I'm really excited to have all of you here. And just to repeat who I am, my name is Margie Hochberger, and I'm a Customer Success Associate at Atrium. And so again, the topic today is going to be insights at internal meetings. So I'd like to give folks a few more minutes to join. So again, as everyone's trickling in, feel free to share who you are and where you're calling from, and something that you're most excited to learn about today. One more thing, before I dive into the content, I wanted to take a moment to shout out Modern Sales Pros. Modern Sales Pros is Atrium's sister company, and it's actually a network of 25,000 sales leadership professionals that you can learn from. And so if you have not joined yet, we would love to have you join to continue leveling up your data-driven sales management skills. It's a great way to join knowledge events and share information amongst each other in this great forum. So you can actually go ahead and sign up at the website in the chat, and you can select my name, Margie Hochberger, as your point of contact who referred you there. So yeah, as we begin to dive into the content, feel free to drop in the chat what you're most looking forward to learning in relation to our topic today. And this is a great opportunity to drop your LinkedIn URL in the chat as well. Again, this is one of the best places that you could connect with other data-driven sales managers and potentially share best practices with Atrium amongst yourselves, because you are our customers and users. Cool. So I'm going to go ahead and get started here. We've spent about 5 minutes welcoming folks, and now we're going to head into our introduction. So I'm going to share some light slideware and do just a bit of context setting for about 10 minutes here. Then we'll head into Atrium, and I'll show you some live examples of insights you can use at internal meetings. So this should take 10 to 15 minutes. After that, we'll head into a live Q&A session to discuss any questions you might have dropped in the Q&A panel or the chat. And this is also a great opportunity to call out the fact that in the Q&A panel, you can actually comment and upvote on others' questions. So go ahead and feel free to do that. So after the live Q&A, I'll do a quick wrap up, and we should be done pretty close to 45 minutes after the hour. So one final item I'd like to bring up before we get started is the importance of interactiveness of these sessions. Everyone here, just to reiterate, is an Atrium customer. So feel free to leverage my expertise and leverage the expertise of fellow customers and amazing data-driven sales leaders and operations on this call. We're all here to learn. That's the purpose of this time. So keep the questions coming, and feel free to help me help you. And thank you again for taking the time out of your day this morning or afternoon, whatever time zone you're in, to spend some time with me here. I know it might be the end of the month. It is the end of the month, the end of the quarter for some of you. And so I know it's a super busy time for everybody. So with that, let's get to it. So this slide is in here for the sake of social proof. All of these organizations are high data-driven, high-performing, scaled sales organizations, and they utilize Atrium to help them execute. You definitely want to be like them, and by being here and joining this office hours today, you're one step closer. So this slide is added in as a bit of a preview. We're talking about how you can leverage Atrium to empower yourself in internal meetings today. And this quote by one of our favorites, Richard Harris, does a great job of highlighting the importance of internal meetings and how powerful they can be. So speaking of Richard Harris, we actually have an upcoming workshop on April 14th with him coming up just for customers. So if any of you folks that are here are interested in joining, don't hesitate to drop your name in the chat if you're in, and we'll get you all signed up. So again, yeah, one-on-ones are the most powerful tool when it comes to managing your team. All right, so now that we've dealt with a little bit of logistics, let's dive into the content. We're learning about insights at internal meetings with Atrium today. Why is insights at internal meetings with Atrium an important topic? Because you're all part of a wonderful sales organization run on the power of utilizing data in meetings to enhance overall performance. Atrium serves up valuable insights that leadership and sales operations can use to actually coach reps. And that's extremely important when you're all trying to hit those revenue targets and get bookings. So why are internal meetings a pain point sometimes, and how can Atrium help? It's really easy to let deals slip through the cracks if you're canceling a one-on-one or not holding a pipe review correctly. And Atrium can help guide the metrics you focus on during those internal meetings to make sure that no balls are dropped. And then we'll also be covering these three subsets of that. So how to use Atrium in one-on-one meetings, how to use Atrium in pipe review meetings, and how to use Atrium in forecasting meetings, which again is just the tip of the iceberg there. So what meetings can Atrium help with? I've included this slide because I wanted to highlight the different variations we use here at Atrium. These are all important meetings to have, and not that we're overlapping topics across meetings, but we just have prescriptive topics, frequencies, audiences, content, and dashboards to use for each meeting. And so for the purposes of this office hours, I'm going to showcase how to use Atrium in one-on-ones, pipe reviews, and forecasting meetings, as I just mentioned. But again, you should think of this temple as a template, and don't worry, we will share these slides after the session, so you don't need to quickly jot everything down. But you can go ahead and fill it in with the meetings you need to, want to, and should probably be hosting with your sales team. And they're all just broken out right there. Okay, so now that we've decided what meetings we want to use Atrium in, and also another great question I should probably answer is, how you even choose what meetings you should be using Atrium in. Obviously, it's most sales meetings, but here's an approach I recommend for prioritizing the internal meetings you can be using Atrium in. So anyway, you don't have to use Atrium as an asset in your internal meetings, and I wanted to quickly walk through what these alternatives might be. Most of you have multiple tools you leverage for sales insights in your tech stack. So let's just go ahead and walk through these really quickly. So CRM reporting, it's available now, flexible, but time consuming. So in CRM reporting and dashboarding is one of the most common ways that sales teams instrument the performance of their reps and teams. Business intelligence, you may have, it's slow to set up, flexible and powerful, time consuming to monitor. So horizontal business intelligence is a powerful and flexible way to do reporting and visualization and is typically viewed as more advanced. So popular examples are Tableau and Looker. And then data-driven management software, it's a quick setup, less flexible, automatically monitored. So there's a category of performance-centric analysis software that is purpose-built for instrumenting sales reps and teams, and Atrium is an example of this type of software. Great, so now I'm going to get a little bit more in depth here and look at how to use Atrium in one-on-one meetings. So first of all, what are one-on-ones meant for? There's a major difference between coaching and not coaching. And using these metrics that are in Atrium to tell a story can help reps visualize their action items. Just saying something like, you are not closing enough deals is not really helpful. What metrics can you utilize in Atrium to back that up? And then further, what top of funnel activity may need to be happening to further enhance one's performance to lead to better bookings. Maybe you don't have that many meetings on the calendar. Maybe your email engagement rate isn't that good because whatever you are sending out isn't getting that high of a response, which is a great metric to track for AEs, but also SDRs as they're trying to, cold outreach and get that first level or get that first contact with prospects. And then, yeah, I really like this example on the bottom. Good job last month. That's not really coaching. It's great to give somebody a pat on the back, but if you can actually say something like, that was a great job last month. Did you see how your higher average selling price by stretching for an additional seat led to 20% more bookings on the same number of wins? Pretty awesome, right? You can show a rep during a one-on-one that exact visual and have the numbers to back it up. So this is what a one-on-one looks like in practice. These three bubbles at the top is the prep, where a manager creates an agenda. Manager and sales ops, if sales ops exists at your org, creates a dashboard. The manager will then schedule one-on-one and prep time. It's very important to prep for a one-on-one that you're having. If you go in there blind and don't really have an agenda or things you want to say specifically to your rep, like action items from last time, making sure that you have action items leaving the meeting. You definitely want to make sure that you have prep time there. So then at the bottom here, you see that the manager and rep, as I just said, agree on actions to take. So next steps are listed in the agenda, and you can actually put them at the top of the agenda so that they can be revisited the next time you have your one-on-one. The manager will review the dashboard and identify issues. The manager can actually prep questions and coaching. So, like, what are you seeing here in your top of funnel activity? Or why do you think your conversion rate from proposal stage is lower? What are you doing at the bottom of the funnel stages that isn't going so well? And how can we improve that? The manager discusses this with the rep, and then full circle, the manager and rep agree on actions to take. So there's always that constant flow of a really nice relationship of a back and forth where there are action items, you're both setting expectation for each other, and you can have a successful one-on-one every time. So here is an Atrium use case for one-on-ones. We actually have these awesome playbooks that we're building out for our clients. This is one example of that. We're going to share those support links with you as well. And this one's an AE team one-on-one dash. So you can see here that we have this nice little image of it flowing, but I'm actually going to pop into the platform itself in demo mode. So here you can see that these are important metrics you'd want to bring up during a one-on-one. It's really useful to have the entire team shown here so that whoever you're meeting with, you can see how they're pacing, not only toward goal, as you can see on this goal line here, but how they're doing compared to the rest of the team. So Bonnie Hops is really killing it this quarter. She also she has like one less win than everybody else, but is doing really well on the dollar value there that she's closed, likely from having a higher average selling price. And you can also see like there's a lot of ops in her pipeline. So if somebody's not doing so well, Shan Yu, if you go down here, you can see that Shan Yu has significantly less ops than the rest of the reps on his team. So maybe an SDR isn't round robining enough ops to that AE. Perhaps, they need to be self-prospecting a little bit more. And so being able to just see this visual right off the bat in a one-on-one is really helpful because you can just point these things out immediately and ask what maybe can be done to increase moving ops through the funnel and closing those bookings. Meetings on calendar is really important. That's a show of effort and how much outreach is being done on a regular cadence. So it's nice to have these two time frames as well, last week and this month. Accounts touched, of course, very important. You want to be touching as many accounts as possible and then simultaneously as many contacts as possible. And then you want to be continuing to own new opportunities, increasing that pipeline. Looking at win rate, also important. And then average selling price, as I was mentioning earlier, Bonnie does have one of the higher ASPs on the team. And average sales cycle is important too, because if, Shan Yu has a lower sales cycle, so he could be closing more deals. But because he has a lower ASP, he'll probably have to close more deals to hit a similar quota or dollar value as the other reps on his team. Great. So this is how to use Atrium in pipe review meetings. Pipeline reviews address two important needs, forecasting and decision-making. You're trying to understand what will versus won't close in the current state and identify actions to take. So because enterprise and SMB reps are going after different prospects, your pipe reviews should differ as well. As you can see on this slide, The approach for granularity with enterprise reps is to discuss every deal. With SMB reps, it's a broad review for issues, but only discuss key deals. For structure, what questions need to be asked about each deal. And then for SMB reps, thinking which issues are most important to catch and which deals are key deals. And then for goaling, trust but verify on sales rep assessment for enterprise reps, and for SMB reps, ensure overall adherence to sales process. Great, so here's another demo example I'll use to use Atrium and Pipe review meetings. We can talk about op health here. So I'm sure you all know and love op health. It's a great aspect of Atrium in addition to our dashboards and alerts. So again, just to go back to the slide, this is reviewing issues. So this op health view is looking at all open ops that are rated poor or at risk. So this is really helpful when you just look at a first glance here. You can see, oh no, this op is looking a little poor. I'll use this one as an example so you can all see the data points that Atrium's pulling in to rate this. Just looking at this, like there's no next meeting on the calendar. That's a pretty big red flag. The op age is significantly longer than the average for the team. The last meeting was over a month ago. The op hasn't advanced stages in the last 30 days. So you could immediately pull this up in a pipe review and ask this rep, what's going on here? Do we really think this is likely to close? Is it maybe something we should close out? What steps can we take to move this down the funnel? So here's another one that's poor. There's no recorded last inbound email. So there has not even really been engagement here. It seems like it's almost just been solely outreach. So here's another deal where you could assess this, tap the rep, and see what might be going on here and how we could advance this, or do we need to clean it up and just lost this op? So for an SMB pipeline review, part 2 could be focusing on key deals. And so again, the description here and what we're categorizing as key deals is open ops closing this quarter, that's in stage 3 or above, sorted by size. So, a lot of these are in good or average health, which is a good look for the team. This one's at risk, so you could immediately point this ADT deal out to Samson and ask what's going on here. There is a next meeting on the calendar, so that's good, and it looks like Samson just reached out, so that's also good to know. And there's a contract out, so just seeing if we really do think that contract's going to be signed, or what extra push could we possibly do to get that deal over the line. You can also sort any of these columns in an op health view. So if you wanted to, sort it by days untouched, you can see that this one hasn't been touched in 20 days and it's at risk. So maybe this person needs to be reached out to again. Great, moving on to the next slide. So how to use Atrium in forecasting meetings. So let's take a step back here. What am I even talking about when I say forecasting? Forecasting can be many things. So option 1, forecasting could be a prediction, bottom up, top down. Option 2 is forecasting could be a submission process, rolling up the forecast, as they say. Option 3 is that you could think of forecasting as pipeline inspection and scrubbing. Option 4 is forecasting the finish line. And then option 5 is forecasting meetings. This is our inspection and diagnosis guide. And, we have metrics that are on our support article that can show the leading and lagging indicators of various quantity and quantity selling metrics for reps. So you can use the following guides to actually get to the root cause of an observed problem in a specific metric for a given rep. So like thinking about why is this AE's average selling price down, or why is this SDR's meeting creation struggling? When you inspect the precursors, which are the metrics to the right of a problematic metric, it's best to compare that rep's metrics to others of a similar role themselves previously and expected levels of that metric to see if you can spot the issue, which translates directly to the types of alerting that we have in Atrium. You can look at personal alerts, which is a rep compared to themselves, peer alerts, which is a rep compared to the team, and then goal alerts, which is how a rep is pacing toward goal. And again, just to remind you, this is when everybody on a team has the same segment and discipline. Just had to throw in that like technical aspect there, but yes, that's how we alert on anomalies in Atrium. So I'm sure none of you are strangers to these rep metrics inspection trees. I know anyone on this call who's a client of mine has certainly seen this before. Again, you really just want to be thinking of the drivers on the right leading to bookings on the left for AEs, which is our ultimate goal. So, when you're analyzing that somebody has a lower average deal cycle, you can go over to the right and look at maybe their stuck ops. Maybe they have a lot of stuck ops that they're having trouble moving through the funnel. Maybe there's one, we have this time and stage card now that's a newer feature. Maybe a rep has been holding a lot of their ops in proposal or sorry, not proposal. That would be a huge red flag. I was going to say like a sales accepted ops stage, like something top of funnel where a lot of ops just sit there. Maybe the rep's a little overloaded and should have fewer ops sent to them, or maybe they're not doing a great job at that top of funnel conversion with outreach and engagement. So here's another SDR rep metrics tree. And it's pretty similar where the quota on the left there instead of bookings is pipeline generated. And so again, if you're thinking about something like, op acceptance rate, you want to look at the quality of their prospecting activity. Maybe they are not multi-threading and they should be reaching out to more contacts per account. Maybe the account quality and type is not that great. And so maybe they should reassess who they're actually going after to send over to AEs in the first place. And so here's like a hard example of using Atrium in forecasting meetings. We'll talk down funnel ops. So, things that are in contract out, proposal, and paper process stages. This is another wonderful op health view. You can look at deals closing this month and next that are in contract or proposal when you're thinking of forecasting. Is it going to close? What's the current state of each one of these ops? You can also view this graph to see the dollar value of pipeline or each rep's pipeline in the current state. And it's split here by op stage. So you can see how much money is in contract out, implementation, paper process, or proposal. And so again, scrolling through here, this ADT deal is looking like it's at risk, again, even though the contract is out. So there is a next meeting, which is good. And it has been touched recently, but what can you do to prep for that meeting to really make sure that everything's going well and the deal doesn't go sideways? Addressing what's going on, why haven't you signed the contract? Is there anything we can do to move this deal across the line? So for this slide, I just want to go ahead and show you that we have many resources, resources on resources. I know I point my clients all the time to our support site and support articles, which are extremely helpful for giving a robust overview of the metrics you're actually looking at in Atrium, but also now how to use them. And here's just one example. This image on the right, you can see we have an Atrium playbook for AE and AM pipeline reviews. So a more granular, or actually more robust version of the granular op health view that I hopped in as an example for SMB reps. But yeah, we have Atrium playbooks, Atrium's support portal, and Atrium's resource page. Again, I send this all the time. And then here's our great data-driven sales management library. And then, of course, you can always use your CSM. I'm always here. Anyone else on my team is always here to answer any questions you have, even if it's something like, technical, or you just don't know how to tell the story of what you're looking at in a metric card. We are always here for support. So please feel free to always reach out to anyone. So what office hours are up next? On April 14th, we have creating a data-driven culture with Atrium, Slack, and email. On May 5th, we have achieving data-driven prospecting excellence. On May 26th, we have Atrium integrations, Gong, Slack, and Salesforce. And so, yeah, it's always a race to get through all of the content during these sessions. I can't believe this is only our third one. Thank you so much for having me here. We will follow up this afternoon with the recording and resources we dropped in the chat, as well as other relevant resources we didn't have a chance to mention. But yeah, would love to head into the Q&A if anybody has some questions. So Sarah said, do you have any tips on how to begin implementing Atrium within our one-on-ones? This is new for our managers and team. I don't want anyone to feel overwhelmed. Yeah, so that's a great question. Again, I recommend starting sort of small with the basics. I showed you that great AE team one-on-one dash. I think being able to also broadcast that via email to managers and reps is extremely beneficial, because then a rep isn't going into the one-on-one not really being sure of what will be discussed. When you have like a set of metrics, you're always going to refer to when you're looking at deals and conversion rates and moving things through the funnel, you'll always be on the same page. And you could even like prep beforehand and say to the rep, like, we're going to be focusing on these 3 metrics today. See how they take that. And so Paige has the same question, but for pipeline review. We review new accounts closed, but also our expansion accounts from current clients. We have always used too many dashboards, and it is also overwhelming as well. Yeah, so I know that sometimes there are like a lot of metrics at hand, but again, I think pulling up a simplistic op health view where you're just focusing on one thing, like the time frame that the deal's supposed to close in, or the size of the deal, or the stage that the deal's in, is really helpful to get granular and have a sense of focus when you're in a pipeline review. And then a rep could always also, like, you know, get a more granular view of all of their open ops set to close this quarter and the health of those ops, perhaps on their own, and get that broadcast to them via email or Slack. Does anyone else have any other questions? Cool. Thanks, Sarah. So yeah, we can go ahead and wrap this up. If you do think of any other questions, you can feel free to, ask anybody on the team. And, if you're ready to start leveraging Atrium in your internal meetings, but don't know where to start, don't hesitate to reach out to your CSM. That is what we are all here for. So as I said, next up, we're going live on April 14th at 9:30 a.m. Pacific for an office hours episode on creating a data-driven culture with Atrium, Slack, and email. So Atrium is more effective when the entire, or at least most of the sales team is bought in on data-driven sales management. So again, that's a lot of our current clients' priorities, having data-driven sales management and like a data-driven culture really permeate the go-to-market org. And so I feel like I kind of had a precursor to that by saying you can broadcast any of these views that you want to throw into meetings via email or Slack to reps or whole teams. So yeah, you can get the calendar invite added to your calendar by signing up at the link that's in the chat. And yes, I would just love to say thank you so much for coming today, and I can't wait to see everybody next time.